As I mentioned, Donald Trump is in the news once again because various rumours that he could run for a third term. This all seemed to be sparked by Steve Bannon, his former, I think he was chief of staff, but certainly is still a close confidant of the president. He spoke with the economists Zanny, Minton, Beddoes.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
And as the speculation was mounting, Donald Trump spoke with reporters. He's doing a tour of Asia at the moment and spoke with them, hence the sort of loud noise you can hear in the background, on board Air Force One.
I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers.
So you're not ruling out a third term?
Am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
Not ruling it out. Why can't they just, before they get on the plane, turn the bloody engine off and interviewing there where we can actually hear what he has to say? Every clip of Trump where he's screaming over the noise of Air Force One is infuriating. But nonetheless, Donald Trump saying, or indeed hinting at what Steve Bannon said, that he could run for a third term or certainly not rule it out. Matthew Bartlett is a Republican strategist and former Trump appointee in the State Department in his first term. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Matthew, always good to have you on the programme. Is this just Donald Trump revelling in the speculation, do you think?
Yeah, Henry, good to join you. And I think you might be right there. Donald Trump loves to say something that will be provocative, get a headline, and maybe even more so, just torture Democrats, make them go bonkers. But let's be clear, the notion of Donald Trump serving another term, what Steve Bannon has said, that is bonkers. It is all bullocks. So this is unconstitutional. I do not see this happening. The president will be 83 by the time this term ends. So if there was this notion that he was going to run again, I would even think you can beat an 83-year-old man, no matter who it is.
Not to get too into the weeds of it, but I've read conflicting... Oh, apologies if anyone was offended by the word you used, by the way. The mechanism by which this could happen, the 22nd Amendment, which bars presidents from seeking a third term, there seems to be a suggestion that basically he could run as vice president and then J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or whoever stands down, and then you can only do 10 years. You can either do 2 terms or 10 years as president, so he could then serve another 2 years, but not a full third term. Is that right? But that seems to be disputed.
Well, I think you're right. The good news is he shot that plan down. I think that was an old Putin, Medvedev switcheroo that they did in Russia one time. And the notion that I think even President Trump said he's not keen on this plan. The vice president has to be able to assume the office, which means you cannot be a former president. It also means you cannot be a foreign citizen or born of a foreign citizen. So again, that's rather clear. Listen, if they're going to try to upend this, well, gosh, Barack Obama could run again, right? I don't see any of this happening. I would even point to the president's statements, where he started talking about a J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio ticket could be invincible, unstoppable. So it seems as if, again, his mindset as an aging president is on the future. That does not include him on the top of the ticket. But boy, he loves to torture Democrats, the media on this subject. If I'm being intellectually honest, maybe we should also remember 2020, after losing that election, he had something of a novel approach to hanging on to power, which, again, thankfully did not play out well.
Yeah, I think that's being kind. When you look at why this was it was Roosevelt, wasn't it, who had a fourth term, and he actually died very early into his fourth term. But it was Republicans who actually instituted this, because I think it was a convention before, but they actually put it into the Constitution to have 2 full terms. And the way in which he would overturn this, he needs sort of, I think, 2/3 of the Senate, a healthy majority in the House of Representatives. Just to be clear, Matthew, because you're in Washington, D.C., and what people are telling you, there is no way that this can happen, right?
Correct. Let's just be clear. I'm in Washington, D.C. We cannot find agreement to get the government running. It's just impossible to somehow amend the Constitution. I'm happy to say the Constitution will stand for Republicans, for Democrats, for America. This is a preposterous notion that, again, a 79-year-old president who would be the better part of 83, 84. We're going to focus on the future. We're going to have elections. There is probably going to be a lot of nonsense in between, but we're going to continue on.
Last question. hypothetical for you, Matthew. If he was on the ticket as an 83-year-old, and, I mean, people would have been sick of him because he's obviously run in 3 elections prior to that, won 2, lost 1. Do you think he could beat all of the Democrats as a third-term 83-year-old Republican president?
You know, if that were the case, shame on the Democrats. You know, how can you not put up? We saw the dysfunction of the last election where an elderly man was not up to the job, you know, quit mid-race, just unheard of, you know, put forth a vice president that was largely untested. Now I think you'll have a much larger process, years process. It used to be that being the incumbent was a powerful thing. That's changing. Being incumbent and finding solutions to a lot of the challenges that plague the nation, the world, cultural, society, economics is very challenging. It seems as if we are in a time now where winning might be easier than governing. And once you are in power, it's very challenging to maintain that. So again, I think we'll see what happens atmospherically with all these issues. But my take, we're going to have a different Republican and Democrat. This is wide open in 2028.